Hello Year 7 and welcome to Lesson 9 of the Earth topic. Please remember to go back to Show My Homework after this lesson. Click on the Show My Homework entry for Earth Lesson 9, then click the quiz button and there is a multiple choice quiz for you to complete. And here is a starter quiz. Now all of the answers should be just one or two words. So don't write this down. Don't want you to write a lot. Just think of your answer and it should only be one or two words. Pause the video and come up with an answer for each question. Pause it now. Let's go through the answers. Right, petrol is used as fuel for cars. Oh, I've included three words there, never mind. But it is fuel for cars. Diesel is used for trucks and trains. Petrol and diesel come from crude oil. Methane is used for Bunsen burners. It has the formula CH4. A hydrocarbon is made of carbon and hydrogen atoms bonded together. Carbon dioxide is CO2. Complete combustion makes carbon dioxide and water. Incomplete combustion makes the toxic gas carbon monoxide. Water will be made as well. Which needs more oxygen, complete or incomplete combustion? Complete combustion happens with plenty of oxygen. Incomplete combustion happens where there's not enough oxygen. The driving question for today's lesson is, why is the Earth getting warmer? So we're going to look at the greenhouse effect and climate change and global warming, the difficult consequences of our use of hydrocarbon fuels. Now, we have learned that the Earth gives us natural resources. That includes crude oil. It includes natural gas. We then change those natural resources into useful products like petrol, diesel, methane. Or let's have a look at some of those uses. Let's remind ourselves of the uses of hydrocarbon fuels that we have learned about over this topic. So methane for Bunsen burners, petrol for cars, diesel for trucks and trains, kerosene for aeroplanes, fuel oil for ships. And when we burn those hydrocarbons, carbon dioxide is produced. Now, when we use central heating, that runs on natural gas. That's also a hydrocarbon. When we use electricity, a lot of our electricity comes from power stations which burn coal, oil, and gas, and that also produces carbon dioxide. Now, all of these activities cause carbon dioxide to be produced. All of the fuels we use and the electricity that comes from fossil fuel power stations, it causes carbon dioxide to be produced. So the percentage of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere is increasing. Now, at the same time, the temperature of the Earth is increasing, and there seems to be a pattern. As the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere increases, so the surface temperature of the Earth also increases. Now there's a link, there's a connection. And the connection is that CO2, carbon dioxide, is able to absorb heat. Now we can measure that in a laboratory, and we can measure how much heat molecules of CO2 are able to absorb. Now the word molecule we've come across earlier in this topic, and a molecule is a small group of atoms bonded together. So here we have a carbon dioxide molecule, one carbon bonded to two oxygens. So CO2 means one carbon atom bonded to two oxygen atoms. A molecule is a small group bonded together. Now, the bonds between atoms, that is the part that is able to absorb heat energy in carbon dioxide molecules. Now, the bonds absorb energy in the form of infrared waves, sometimes called thermal radiation. We have three names for the same thing: heat energy, thermal radiation, infrared waves. So we're going to talk now about infrared waves, but it is the same thing as heat energy, and carbon dioxide molecules are able to absorb heat energy. Here we have a graph showing the amount of infrared radiation that carbon dioxide is able to absorb. So when we use the words thermal radiation or infrared waves, that is one form of heat energy. Now, all hot objects give off infrared. We can measure that using infrared cameras. The red colors are the hottest part of the object. That's giving off the most infrared waves. Now, heat energy travels in the form of infrared waves, and it travels from the sun. So we get our heat from the sun, and it travels like light in the form of waves. Infrared waves are heat waves, essentially. Right, and you'll learn more about that in the waves topic. Now, when those infrared waves travel from the sun to Earth, they get absorbed by carbon dioxide molecules in the atmosphere. Some of the waves bounce off the surface of the Earth and then get absorbed. Some of it doesn't get absorbed and travels back into space. But in general, carbon dioxide molecules in the atmosphere are able to absorb infrared waves from the sun. Now that is actually a good thing. And it's a good thing because we need a certain amount of warmth in order for us to live and survive. So we need the Earth's atmosphere to trap some heat. And so it's a good thing to begin with that carbon dioxide can absorb infrared. But if the amount of carbon dioxide increases too much, then it absorbs too much heat, and that becomes a problem. And we're going to look at that problem now. You will see this word referred to quite a lot when talking about global warming and climate change, the greenhouse effect. Now, a greenhouse is designed to trap heat. It allows light in, it also traps heat inside it. And for this reason, because an actual greenhouse traps heat from the sun inside it, molecules, gases which trap heat in the atmosphere are called greenhouse gases. So just like the walls of a greenhouse trap the heat inside, keeping the plants warm, so greenhouse gases trap heat from the sun, keeping the earth warm. So this is called the greenhouse effect. When greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide, they're called greenhouse gases because they trap the sun's heat. They absorb heat energy, and they do that by absorbing infrared radiation. Right? Now, I've given you a lot of information there. Let's pause and try and put into your own words, what is the greenhouse effect? How does it keep the earth warm? Try and come up with a sentence or two. How does the greenhouse effect keep the earth warm? Pause the video and think of an answer. Let's have a look at my answer. I said, firstly, heat comes from the sun. It comes in the form of infrared waves. Carbon dioxide absorbs infrared. In other words, it traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. This keeps the Earth warm. So the greenhouse effect is when a greenhouse gas, like carbon dioxide, traps heat from the sun in the Earth's atmosphere. And it does that by absorbing infrared waves. Right, now this is the hardest thing in this lesson. This is our extension. So pause it. I've put all the information in here, but it's jumbled up. Can you put the sentences in order? How do CO2 molecules trap heat? Pause it, read it through, see if you can put the letters in order. You might need to jot down the letters on a scrap of paper to help you remember what order you're putting them in, and see how you get on. Pause it and try it. This is the hardest thing in the lesson, so give it a good go. Pause it now. Okay, let's look at the answer. Firstly, a molecule is a small group of atoms bonded together. So I've defined that keyword first. CO2 molecules are made of one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms bonded together. The bonds inside CO2 molecules are able to absorb waves in the infrared range of the spectrum. You will learn more about frequency and wavelength and the spectrum of waves in another topic. So CO2 molecules absorb infrared waves. That means they are absorbing heat, because heat travels in the form of infrared waves. And when they absorb infrared, this stores energy inside the molecule. Okay, so that's the hard version of the explanation. The slightly easier version is that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas because it traps heat in the atmosphere. Right? Now, that's called the greenhouse effect when greenhouse gases trap heat energy. So we're trying to add in some detail that it's the infrared waves that they are able to absorb. There are other greenhouse gases, not just carbon dioxide. There is also methane and nitrous oxide, and there are some other gases as well. But if it's a greenhouse gas, that means it traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. And the more of these gases that are in the atmosphere, the more heat it traps. Okay, let's look at the chemical formulas. Carbon dioxide is CO2, methane is CH4. Water vapor actually can also absorb infrared energy waves as well. Right, memory check. Name 3 greenhouse gases. Pause it. Can you come up with that? Here we go. 3 greenhouse gases would include carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, also nitrous oxides was the other one on that chart a minute ago. So those are examples of greenhouse gases, gases which trap heat in the atmosphere. Here's some others: carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide. There's quite a lot of different greenhouse gases that can trap heat in the atmosphere. And as they increase in the atmosphere, the Earth's atmosphere traps more and more and more heat. and the temperature rises. Right? Now, when the whole Earth is increasing in temperature, this is called global warming. So globe, means the whole Earth. So the whole Earth is getting warmer because of these greenhouse gases. More and more heat is getting trapped in the atmosphere, and it's starting to become a really big problem, and it will continue to be a big problem if we keep using so many hydrocarbons. Here's some of the problems. It causes climate change, more frequent and more severe climate events like storms, ice caps melting, which then causes floods, droughts, forest fires. And these are all examples of climate change, which happens more frequently when the Earth gets warmer. Okay, and this is a direct consequence of us, the human race, putting more and more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Right. So the increase in destructive climate events is called climate change. Okay, so storms, melting ice caps, sea level rising, floods, droughts, forest fires are caused by the Earth getting warmer. And the Earth getting warmer is caused by more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So really, we all need to start using a lot less hydrocarbons. Not just us here in Britain, but all around the world. We need to stop using so many hydrocarbons because we need to stop the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that we are putting into the atmosphere. So that means driving cars less or finding other fuels. It means using electricity or getting more of our electricity from renewable sources like wind and waves and solar panels instead of from fossil fuels. Okay, pause the video and match the keywords to their meanings. Pause it now. Here we go. Right. 1 is B. A greenhouse gas traps heat in the atmosphere. 2. Greenhouse effect is when the atmosphere traps heat. 3. Global warming is the rise in temperature of the whole Earth. And climate change is the increase in destructive weather events. And here they are next to the correct answer. So 1 was B, 2 was A, 3 was D, and 4 was C. Okay, memory check. Name 5 examples of destructive weather events that are happening more often because of climate change, I should say. Pause it now and try and remember what are the examples of climate change. Let's have a look. We've got storms, floods, droughts, melting ice caps, forest fires. Okay, which statement is false? Pause the video and choose A, B, C, or D. Right, the false answer was C. By burning carbon, we are increasing the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. So A was true. They are all greenhouse gases. B is true. Greenhouse gases do trap heat energy. Thermal means heat, keeping the Earth warm. And the increasing concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is what is causing global warming and climate change. It is time for the writing task of this lesson. We are going to describe what the meaning of greenhouse gas, give some examples. Explain what climate change is, give some examples. Then explain how greenhouse gases cause global warming and what the climate change consequences are. And then the hardest thing is to add in the idea of infrared waves and CO2 molecules. Here are some sentence starters. Pause the video, take as long as you need to complete this written work, and then mark your answers afterwards. Go for it, year 7. This is where you need to put in your best effort, get your written work done. Try and get some good science detail in there. There's some key words to help you with yellow and blue. Go for it. Pause it now and get your written work done. Okay, I'm going to go and move this along to the answers. So please remember to tick things that are correct. Please do feel really good about that. I want you to feel proud of yourself for completing written work in science and for putting some good effort and detail in. But please do also add in anything you didn't think of. A greenhouse gas is a gas which traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere, like carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, also carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides. Climate change means the increase in destructive weather events that the Earth experiences. For example, more droughts, more floods, more severe storms, melting ice caps, forest fires. So climate change is caused by greenhouse gases and the greenhouse effect. How does it work? Right, let's see. Heat travels from the sun to Earth. I've already mentioned here infrared waves. If you haven't put that in, don't worry about it, because you might have talked about that more in blue if you've done that. Heat travels from the sun to Earth. Greenhouse gases trap heat in the atmosphere. This is called the greenhouse effect. The amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is increasing. This traps even more heat in the atmosphere. This increases the temperature of the whole Earth. The increase in temperature is called global warming. Let's combine in some difficult ideas about molecules and infrared waves. A molecule is a small group of atoms bonded together. CO2 molecules are made of one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms bonded together. The bonds between the atoms are able to absorb waves with frequency and wavelength in the infrared range of the spectrum. So CO2 molecules are able to absorb infrared waves. And when they absorb infrared waves, this stores the energy inside the molecule. And that's how heat gets trapped by carbon dioxide. Okay, well done for your effort today. Please do remember to show somebody at home what you've done. Show them you've done your written work. I'm sure that people at home will be really proud of you for continuing to get your science work done. Today I have achieved describe the meaning of greenhouse gas and some examples. Today I achieved explain. I can explain what climate change is with examples. Today I achieved use because I can explain how greenhouse gases cause global warming. Today I achieved combine because I can explain it using infrared waves and CO2 molecules. Well done for your work today, Year 7. Please do remember to go back to Show My Homework, click on the Show My Homework entry for Earth Lesson 9, then click the quiz button and there is a multiple choice quiz for you to complete. Well done for your work and your effort today, and we'll be back next time for Lesson 10 very soon. Well done, Year 7. Keep up the good work.